Alright, so with scientific notation, you've got exponents, and you need to remember that a positive exponent means that you move the decimal to the right to make a larger number. So positive moves to the right, a larger number, and a negative exponent means that you move the decimal to the left to make a smaller number. And I'll show you what that means. So first of all, we need to remember, please use the E. And what I mean by use the E is that button on your calculator. So 3.40 times 10 to the fourth is the same thing as 3.40 E4. That's how you would write it, or type it into your calculator. And what this means is that this is a positive exponent, the 4, and so you're moving your decimal 4 spots to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this number is actually 34000. Okay, so 3.40 times 10 to the fourth, or 3.40 E4 is the same thing as 34,000. The next one, 3.40 times 10 to the negative fourth, is the same thing as 3.40 E negative 4. Because that exponent is negative, it means we're going to be making a smaller number and moving the decimal to the left 4 spots. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this number is actually 0.000340. Okay? We need to make sure the sig figs stay the same. So this last 0 is pretty important because that keeps it at 3 sig figs. 2.5 times 10 to the 1 is the same thing as 2.5 E1, or 2.5, that E is telling us to move the decimal 1 spot to the right to make it a larger number, so it's the same thing as 25. 2.5 times 10 to the negative 1 is 2.5 E negative 1, so it's taking our 2.5, making it a smaller number because of the negative, and moving the decimal to the left, so this is the same thing as 0.25. The last example, this is how we would write 400 with 3 sig figs. It's the only way that you can write 400 with 3 sig figs is writing it into scientific notation, because if you expand it, 4.00 E2, that means move the decimal 2 spots to the right, and that number is 400. And so this is why scientific notation is important when dealing with sig figs, because it allows you to write 400 with 3 sig figs. Please, when you are typing it into your calculator, use the correct E. The correct E you get by pushing the second button and then pushing the comma. That's going to give you an E that looks like this, a capital E, which is the good one. The bad one is, you can't really see it in this picture, but it's right here. It looks like that, and that one is very bad to use. This is the bad E, this is the good E. So please use the right one because they will give you completely different answers. So this is what it will look like in your calculator. Answers will, a lot of times your calculator will put it into scientific notation, and so you can see the difference between the positive exponent and the negative exponent. The positive one is a big number, the negative one is a really small number. So that's just to show you kind of what you will see in your calculator. When you are multiplying or dividing, you still need to follow your sig fig rules, and so when you type it in, 2.3 E5 times 7.4 E8, your calculator may spit out a number like this. And so what you do, that's 1.702 E14. Alright, based on sig fig rules, we want 2 sig figs, and this one has 4. You count sig figs, it's all the numbers before that exponent. Okay, so if you need to switch this into 2 sig figs, you are just going to adjust that number that I underlined. If we wanted it 2 sig figs, it would be 1.7, and then you need to add this in. So 1.7 E14. When you change sig figs, it doesn't affect the exponent, it just affects the number before it. So this is just to show you the difference between using the E and using the times 10 raised to the, or exponent button. The reason we like to use the E is because it is easier, you have to push fewer buttons, and that results in less room for error, and that's what makes me happy. I don't want you to mess up something when you're pushing all of these buttons and get the wrong answer if you are on the right track. And so if you look at how many buttons this person needed to push, that's bad. And that takes a lot of time. This is a lot more concise. And that's good. Okay, so please use the E and please use the correct E. Okay, so some examples of taking numbers and putting them into scientific notation or taking them out of scientific notation. Let's say we had this number 25631.64. Okay. So if you wanted to put this into scientific notation, you need to move the decimal so that it is right here. Okay, so you need to move the decimal so that you just have one digit before the decimal. So that number needs to be between 1 and less than 10. And then you count how many spots you moved it. So you moved it 1, 2, 3, 4. You needed to move it 5 spots to get to that place. And so your number, you write it with the new decimal place, 1.25633164. E, so that's times 10 raised to the, we moved it 1, 2, 3, 4, to the 5th power. And so it's a positive 5 because you need to make this number bigger in order to get to where you were at. And then also if you wanted to take this and make it, let's say 3 sig figs, this final answer would be 1.26 and then E5. And another example, let's say you had 0.0000000000521. Okay, instead of writing that number out every time because that's just going to take forever, put it into scientific notation. And so you want the decimal place right there. And so let's count how many spots you moved it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm going to write that down so I don't forget. 11 times. Okay, so your number is 5.21 E, and we need to make this number way smaller, so it's E negative 11. Okay, because that's telling you to move the decimal spot in this direction, and that's what you want to make it that number that you started with. I'm just going to do a couple more examples if you want to see more. If you have 120 and you wanted to make that into scientific notation, your decimal spot needs to move 2 spots. So you have 1.20 E positive 2 because you need to make that number bigger. If you had 0.050, that decimal place needs to be right here, which would be moving it 2 spots. So it would be 5.0 E. You need to make the number smaller, so E negative 2. And it's really important to put that 0 because this first number had 2 sig figs and the second number had 2 sig figs. Those are all the examples I'm going to do. So if you still need help, just let me know and I can give you more examples, but hopefully this helped you understand scientific notation.